Hey everyone, it's Blake, and welcome in to episode number 11 of our WWE 2021 save in TEW 2020. And as always, if you are just watching this one for the first time, you haven't watched any other videos in the series, would highly recommend going back, watch from the start. It's more fun that way, I promise, and you'll have a good idea of where things stand. Once you catch up, won't take that long, so go back, episode 1, check it out from there, and see what we've been up to here on Raw and SmackDown. This is the go home edition of SmackDown for our King of the Ring pay-per-view on Sunday. That will be our next episode, unless, as the running joke has continued here, Triple H either puts NXT out of business or starts another war with someone else, because that has been the case with NXT, as we know. We'll see if we had any other NXT notes after this particular show. But as of right now, Triple H has not started any other wars with any companies. But let's jump into SmackDown. This is the go-home show. We got a lot to get to heading into a very big King of the Ring pay-per-view on Sunday. We start the pre-show with our women's tag team champions, Natalya and Tamina, getting a victory over Naomi and Mia Yim. A nice little match here, 51. Clearly, we're continuing to see the benefit for Tamina specifically, but also having Naomi in this match. This is why I kind of put these together, even though you've got 4 baby faces here. I was very curious to kind of see how that looked, because both of these two have had this, boost for having the groundswell of public support. So put them in a match together. This was a non-title match. As you can probably tell, we don't have a lot going on right now with the women's tag team titles. That's just for now, as I do have some plans, but with King of the Ring, as I've said, it's a different pay-per-view to book towards, but since we have the brand-specific pay-per-views, we'll be doing a lot more with some of the people that haven't had as much to do here recently, but we had to build the King of the Ring, and that was combining both brands together. So that's kind of been what we've done, and as I've said too, like, the women's tag team division just is what it is right now. There's not a lot of tag teams we have, but we're trying to work on that to see what we can do to improve it. So the champs get a win in a non-title match on the pre-show. Our other pre-show match gets the exact same rating. The Viking Raiders get the win over Elias and Jackson Riker in 750. The Viking Experience does it. Continue to get the tag team specialist bonus here for these two. Not surprised. Looks like Jackson Riker, the Wink League in this group, not doing very well with that. But 4 more guys that are really sort of in a pattern right now that we just don't have a lot to do with them. That'll change for the Viking Raiders, probably more so than Jackson Riker specifically. We do have some plans in place for Elias, but just, again, with what we're building to, not a lot going on for them. We want to get them in some pre-show work here, and the Viking Raiders pick up the win, and we will go straight into the start of SmackDown, which opens up with a match, and it is a very nice match here. 71 with Jey Uso getting the victory over Xavier Woods in 11:33. This was really good, because I wasn't really sure what to expect. Last week on SmackDown we had Kofi Kingston getting a win over Jimmy Uso, so now return the favor. Jey Uso gets the win over Xavier Woods. Of course, these two teams will be in our triple threat tag team match at King of the Ring for the undisputed tag team titles. The winner will float between both brands. So there's a lot at stake for these two teams, but it is, in this particular case, Jey Uso getting the win to build some momentum, and also advancing our segment here, our storyline that we have with the undisputed tag team titles. So a really nice opener here, gets the show off to a strong start indeed, and that leads us into an angle with our general manager, Mick Foley, announcing that next week we will have Damian Priest versus Baron Corbin. That's been set up over the past couple weeks. It started with Baron Corbin attacking Damian Priest, and that led to sort of Damian Priest returning the favor on the previous episode of SmackDown after a match with Corbin. So those two have pretty much, they don't like each other, and we know we put the storyline together. We labeled it as Baron Corbin hates people like Damian Priest. So we're gaining heat with it. That's all that matters. And clearly Damian Priest did not do well without a script. That's okay. Baron Corbin did, and we weren't going to script Mick, so that was a big part of it. But nonetheless, a 65, we'll take it, setting up one match that we'll have for next week edition of SmackDown. And our Intercontinental Champion, Apollo Crews, back on the mic here, as he has been pretty much every week we've had on SmackDown, and gets a 59. Not great, but hopefully Apollo continues to improve his skills on the mic, but he is hyping up his match because he does have an Intercontinental Championship match coming up next. We hyped that up last week. Crews defends against Cedric Alexander, and it is Apollo Crews successfully defending his title against Cedric. Gets a 60 at least. We get the crowd buzzing here. We'll take that. So a decent match between these two. Goes 14 minutes. We want to give them some time, and it does get a 60. This is, something where we've got some ideas for what we want to do with Apollo Crews. But right now, because we didn't put him in King of the Ring and that kind of stuff, he is the Intercontinental Champion. So he's got some stuff in the works. But again, King of the Ring we're building too. And I think you'll see Apollo Crews a little bit more of a prominent situation heading into our first brand-specific pay-per-view next month, which will be Great American Bash for this Smackdown brand. So Apollo Crews successfully defends the Intercontinental Championship. Great segment here, 75, Bianca Belair. She cuts a promo saying that she will have her eyes on the number one contenders match, which will be Charlotte Flair against Asuka later on tonight. And Bianca with her eyes on who she will face as her next opponent. So we continue the storyline here with this. Of course, it's been Charlotte Flair chasing, and Mick Foley basically stepped up and said, even though Charlotte thought she was the number one contender, she actually wasn't. She's got to earn that from Asuka, so we'll see if she can do that. But Bianca Belair still the flavor of the month, gets the boost for that from a ratings perspective. So that's nice, and our champion will be watching the number one contenders match here coming up in just a bit. And we get another angle here, another interview segment where Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, of course we saw Xavier lose to Jey Uso earlier, but these two, in the New Day on the mic, they say they will get their revenge against the Usos in that triple threat match, which will also involve the Street Profits from Raw. That takes place at King of the Ring on Sunday. So this advances the storyline here. As always, we've been using Pat McAfee as sort of our de facto interviewer, I guess you could say, on SmackDown, and that's going really well thus far, so there's no reason for us to change it. A 64, we'll take it. That's fine for what it is. So that is our setup heading into that big triple threat tag match on Sunday at King of the Ring. And a really great night. This is great. Like, I was not expecting necessarily a 77, but we know, like, Sami Zayn is good on the mic, and he's very charismatic, very entertaining, so perhaps I shouldn't be that surprised. But he does help us advance that King of the Ring storyline. Sami Zayn, in this promo, says that his plans are to end Daniel Bryan's career because that will be his opponent in the quarterfinals of the King of the Ring. Daniel Bryan from Raw and Sami Zayn should be a hell of an opening match on that pay-per-view. They will open things up. It will be Daniel Bryan taking on Sami Zayn in the opener of the King of the Ring quarterfinals. So that's already set. So you know that in advance. That will be our opening match for the pay-per-view, and that one should really, I would think, get the pay-per-view off to a great start. But Sami Zayn is basically saying he is out to end Daniel Bryan's career. So we will see if he can do that. But Sami Zayn, very charismatic, and that pays off here with a 77. And Sami Zayn in action here, and what was really not a great match at all. This is, I guess it's a little surprising because you do have a lot of big names. I mean, you've got Drew McIntyre in here. You've got Nakamura. You've got Hardy, Sammy. Like, you've got a pretty good group of talent in here. But to only get a 54, it goes 12 minutes. It's not like it was that long. I don't think we really did anything to, make it to where it was going to get a lower rating. But I think the thing is, my guess, if we just look at the dirt sheet here, is that you've got guys like Nakamura, Jeff Hardy, who are declining probably like physically. And I think that's probably one of the things that we're getting knocked for. So let's see if that's among it, which inconsistency is something we've seen for different guys. Nakamura, penalized for inconsistency. He's also got low morale, which we've got several people with that. And we're going to look at that after we do the sort of June wrap-up show after King of the Ring. We do have some people that are upset right now. So that is something where poor use of slow and steady. So we've got a lot of different things that didn't really work out here. So there's some things that are working against us with Nakamura, also with the declining physical ability. Jeff Hardy's the same way. So those in particular probably hurts this rating a bit. So that's something we always have to keep in mind. when we have these kind of matches, but this is one where we wanted to get a couple of our King of the Ring participants, certainly these three, Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali. We wanted to get them in a match, and that's kind of what we had here. But it is this team here getting the victory with Nakamura pinning Jinder Mahal, getting the victory there. But Drew stands out above everyone else, not surprised. But we've got other plans for Drew. So a little disappointed here with only a 54 with these 6 in particular. But that's okay. We will learn from that and know that we have to work around some of these things, specifically with some of these particular talents that maybe are declining in their abilities. And that leads directly into a promo from Drew McIntyre, who says that next week on SmackDown, he is going to make an impact. And no, I promise, Drew McIntyre's not heading to Impact Wrestling next week. He's not leading an Impact invasion, although he could do that because he was an Impact before. But I promise that's not the tease. Drew McIntyre, though, is going to make an impact, he says, on next week's edition of SmackDown. He has nothing going on at King of the Ring, but he is going to make an impact next week, which we've already heard him address Roman Reigns in one of his earlier promos. So perhaps that's what Drew McIntyre has in mind next week. We'll see on the next edition of SmackDown. So 70 here. We'll take that from Drew. 65 for Charlotte Flair interview. Pat McAfee with hyping the match that we have coming up next against Asuka. Number 1 contenders match. Charlotte, does her usual promo, running down Asuka, saying that she is going to rightfully be the number 1 contender for Bianca Belair, and that is what she has in mind here. And again, she's been talking about it for weeks, but she's finally officially going to get her opportunity to be the number 1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship and get her shot at Bianca Belair. So Charlotte, very confident heading into the match. And what do you know? Charlotte loses. Asuka with a surprise victory, probably for some people, knowing that this storyline has been really built around Charlotte. But it's Asuka getting the victory, 21 minutes, 12 seconds. So we made this a pretty long match. We did book this as, what did we use? We let them call it in the ring because both of them have really good psychology skills. So we called it in the ring, and we also made it sort of a slow build match. So those all came into effect here. We get a 64. I don't really know what I was expecting with this, but clearly Charlotte being in extremely poor form did not help. My guess is this would have been a much better rating if that was not the case. So I think the fact that it went long really didn't have anything to do with it because we did want to make this, really a showcase type match. But the bigger story is that Charlotte is not the number 1 contender. Our storyline has certainly been built around her chasing Bianca Belair, but Mick Foley stepped in and said nope, she had to earn it, and she doesn't because Asuka is now the number 1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So that's a bit of a curveball probably for some who have watched the other editions of SmackDown, maybe thinking that we're going to build and get to that Charlotte Flair versus Bianca match right away. Maybe we won't because Asuka is now the number 1 contender. So lots of intrigue here with this particular setup, and we will see what's next for both Asuka and Charlotte after this match. But Asuka, the victory, and a pretty lengthy match here to become the number 1 contender for the SmackDown Women's title. And then we get a promo from Seth Rollins, who has been masterful indeed in his promos thus far in this save. No surprise. And 83, our best segment of the show thus far, and we continue to advance the King of the Ring, Seth Rollins, basically running down his opponent. He's going to have the quarterfinals against Ricochet at the King of the Ring, and so Seth Rollins, his usual self, just, I think with this character, there's a lot we can do with it, and so this is great, and Seth Rollins has been delivering in a lot of different ways, both on the mic and in the ring. Let's see if he does it in what is our main event match here on SmackDown. And he does. A 74. That's nice. We'll take it. Seth Rollins gets the victory over R-Truth in our main event. And I know what you're thinking. Seth Rollins and R-Truth in the main event. So we could have probably placed, Asuka Charlotte there, maybe one of the other matches. But as you'll see, there's a little bit of a reason we have Seth Rollins and R-Truth in the main event. But it is Seth Rollins building a little more momentum heading into King of the Ring against Ricochet. And after the match, we know there's someone we have not seen yet on this particular show. And that leads us to a little bit of a transition here where Seth Rollins has won the match against R-Truth. But immediately after, Roman Reigns music hits, and Rollins is leaving the ring to go to the back. Roman Reigns making his way down with a scowl on his face, and we basically see these two. I think I put brush against each other, but they basically just walk past each other, give each other a bit of an eye, and I think this is one of those that, we get a lot of green here. I was expecting this to do a pretty good rating, but this is kind of one of those, you finish one part and then you transition immediately into the next part. And I think having these two do it, there's some meaning behind it. We don't know exactly what that is yet, but it is very interesting, and I thought this was a good way to set it up. So this is that's why we had Seth Rollins and R-Truth as the main event, even though it was probably pretty clear who's going to win. That was sort of the case. We wanted to lead to that, but that's also leading to a much bigger segment, which is our final segment of the evening. Roman Reigns, once again, tells Mick Foley he needs him delivered. I know if you watch this, you're still wondering, who is this him character? Well, that's what Mick Foley wants to know, but Roman Reigns has continued to ask Mick Foley to deliver him, and I think Mick Foley knows who him is, but he cannot deliver him. Although here, I'm a little surprised. Mick Foley performed poorly, and we still get an 89 out of this. So we'll take it. But Roman Reigns, after he realizes Mick Foley is not, Mick Foley responds saying he cannot deliver him right now. Roman Reigns said that he will be at King of the Ring, and he is going to walk out there, and if this him does not show himself, there will once again be consequences, and those were the consequences hinted at on our previous episode of Smackdown. So we will see if this mysterious him shows up at King of the Ring, and if he doesn't, what does Roman Reigns mean when he says there will be consequences? So very intriguing setup for our current Universal Champion and what he may do at King of the Ring. Whether this him is there or whether this him is not there, this is still our big main storyline we have going on SmackDown. We built this up over the past 4 weeks, and we will see if there's a payoff for it at King of the Ring. So a nice finish to the show, an 89 here. I think it was a pretty good show overall, and that's good because we get a 77. We'll take that. I think that's actually, it may be our best show rating we've had thus far in all of our Raws and SmackDowns. It increased our popularity in 17 regions, but let's see. So we gained popularity in some of these others, but the growth was restricted due to limited number of viewers. So that makes sense. Remember, we were also still in the cooling off period, all this good stuff, since we did fall to medium early, like in the first, I guess it was the second week of the series. So we're still in the cooling off period, all that kind of stuff, but this is a very good rating, increases our popularity. I think that's actually the first time we've done that because this was our best show to this point. So I like it. We have our best show right before our very first pay-per-view. That is a good vibe heading into King of the Ring. So we'll see if there's any news items, anything of note. I will tell you already, leading up to the SmackDown, there were a couple noteworthy news things that I wanted to touch on. Not necessarily affecting our company all that much, but a couple things that were some interesting items, and we'll see if there's anything else coming out of this particular SmackDown. We do have a couple things here before we jump into the ones I mentioned about having a couple things that happened earlier in the week. Looks like we do have an injury situation in NXT with Taya Valkyrie injured, only a bruised tailbone, so she'll be back in a week, so not a serious injury, so that's good. SmackDown report, excellent. 9,583 fans. Very good. We have an excellent show. That's the first time we've had, again, that's our best show thus far. So that's a very nice, strong build heading into King of the Ring. Some of the other things of note, so we've got Taya Valkyrie injury, drug testing fees. SmackDown gets a 5.28 rating. That's our highest rating overall thus far, too. Dominic Mysterio, this is one of the ones that I noted. He split up with his partner, so I don't know who he was dating, but Dominic has split up. So poor Dominic, he splits up with his partner. Rey Mysterio gets attacked by Randy Orton on our previous episode of Raw. We just got all kinds of stuff going on right now. So Dominic, it's not been a great week for him. His dad gets brutally attacked by Randy Orton, and then he splits up with his partner. So who knows what that's going to mean for Dominic on the next edition of Raw. So a very interesting week for Dominic, nonetheless. One other thing, actually, I wanted to mention. Let's see. We're going to do the search because we're going to search for. Let's see here. Got to change our filter. Sean Spears was in the news. Of course, Sean Spears does not work for our company, but sadness. Sean Spears and Peyton Royce have divorced. This happened on Wednesday, a couple days ago, but it was something I wanted to bring up. So, unfortunately, Sean Spears, the former Ty Dillinger, yes, they have divorced. So, Peyton Royce, Sean Spears, back on the market. Unfortunately, neither one of them work for our company right now, but still, a very sad divorce here. We don't want to see that with former WWE stars who, by our own doing, I guess we released them. So it's not our fault. It's not my fault, at least, because I was not in charge of WWE at the time. So, but since I am in this game, that is all that matters, right? So, yes, that is kind of where things stand on that. No other real news items for everything, but we will, before we wrap up, remember, we are heading into King of the Ring, and it is going to be a lot of fun because we have just got some really fun things in the works. Remember, it is the King of the Ring quarterfinals. It all takes place at this particular show. You can kind of see, you can look at some of the pre-booking we put together already. So we've got some of the matches that will be in place. It's AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. We've got Cesaro versus Mustafa Ali. Daniel Bryan, Sami Zayn, as mentioned, that will open up the show at King of the Ring. And we've also got Seth Rollins versus Ricochet. So those are our four particular matches for King of the Ring. That will start the tournament at the pay-per-view. Then we've got some other matches in place. Bayley and Sasha Banks will take on Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. The Street Profits versus the New Day versus the Usos. They're in action for the undisputed tag team titles. So those are the matches that we have on the card. As of right now, I don't know. We may add one other match, but because we're going to have several, just based on the King of the Ring, I don't know that for sure. We'll certainly have some stuff on the pre-show, but it's going to be, we've got some storyline stuff in place too. So we'll see if anything else gets added. But as of right now, this is sort of the lineup. I know what you're thinking. There's only 6 matches, but no, remember, we've got several more that are going to be involved based on King of the Ring semifinals and then the finals. So it should be a good card. I'm really excited about it. I think this is going to be a fun show, and I really believe that this is going to give us a really strong direction as we head into really, I honestly, like what I think is going to be a really fun, King of the Ring, but it's going to jumpstart some of the stuff that we have already planned over the next really several months. I think this is going to be a big sort of launching point for that. And so I'm excited for King of the Ring. It should be a lot of fun. That will be the next video that we will have in the series. And as of right now, the plan is to put up King of the Ring on Friday. So you're getting this one on Wednesday. King of the Ring should be up on Friday. And that'll be a nice video for people to enjoy for the weekend. So really excited about King of the Ring. And as mentioned, after King of the Ring, we'll have a bit of a monthly wrap-up sort of video before we jump into the next Raw. But that is sort of the plan for the next couple videos here on the series. And yes, it should be a lot of fun. So be sure to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And yes, again, I appreciate all the feedback thus far. And for those of you who have, come all the way with all this thus far, you've watched all the videos, you've checked out everything we built up. Hopefully you get some entertainment out of it with the payoffs that we're going to have on some of the stuff at King of the Ring. And again, like I said, the launching point for some of the things that are going to be kind of pushing ahead on both brands. We'll get some of the stuff out of that too at King of the Ring. So thanks for watching again. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And next up will be the 2021 King of the Ring.